Ready? All right, let's bring the Improvement Service Committee public hearing to order. Let it be recorded, Worry, Netting, Nicholson, and Vanderleest are present. So we just go right into the public hearing, Steve?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's start the public hearing. Asphalt resurfacing. Do we go street by street, Steve?
Actually,
Or do you got cards for people to speak, or?
well, yeah, we'll just announce the streets that are involved in the asphalt resurfacing hearing, and then I can read the engineer's report in.
Okay.
And we can open the floor for public
Okay.
comment. We do have the cards here for you.
All right, sounds good. So for the hearing, we have Brozig Street, Manitowoc to Pecan, North Chestnut Avenue, Elmore to Mather, Redwood Drive, Hickory Drive to 9th, Badger Street, Perkins Avenue to Reagan Street, Perkins Avenue, Shawano Ave to 234 feet, south of Badger Street,
Yes, sir.
Badger Lane, Badger Street to Christiana Street, Reserve Street, Badger Street to Cul-de-sac North, Doty Street, South Monroe Avenue to South Baird Street, Stewart Street, South Van Buren Street to South Baird Street, Stewart Street, South Monroe Avenue to South Jackson Street. Director Grenier.
Engineer's report, public hearing on February 28th, 2018. In accordance with state statute 66.0703, this public hearing is being held to levy assessments for the proposed pavement, sewer, and water improvements which are included in the 2018 Capital Improvements Program. All projects being considered tonight will be included in contracts administered by the City of Green Bay Department of Public Works Engineering Division. All of the proposed assessments are being levied in accordance with the city's assessment ordinance. During construction, the contractor is required to provide access to businesses at all times and residents as much as practical. When a residential driveway is inaccessible, the property owners or tenants can receive permission from the city police department to park on adjoining streets. Problems during construction should be brought to the attention of the Department of Public Works Engineering Division by calling 448-3100. Asphalt resurfacing. Asphalt resurfacing on the streets being considered tonight will consist of milling the existing pavement, eliminating depressions with a 1 1/2 inch asphalt leveling course, then placing a 1 1/2 inch or more asphalt surface over the entire paved area. The objectives of resurfacing are to provide a smoother roadway surface, eliminate maintenance problems, and to extend the life of the street. Asphalt resurfacing can only be completed on an existing improved street where the base is still in good condition. Once base failure has occurred, the entire street usually has to be reconstructed. Prior to resurfacing any street, utilities will be reconstructed and/or rehabilitated as needed. In addition, preparation work consisting of milling the existing pavement, spot base repair, and curb and gutter repair will be completed. The following factors are considered when determining whether or not the curb and gutter should be mud jacked or replaced. 1, the condition of the curb and gutter. 2, the amount of water retained in the gutter. 3, the amount of funds available for curb repair work. All preparation work for asphalt resurfacing is provided at no cost to the property owner. The 2018 assessment rate for asphalt resurfacing is $17 per front foot for residential zoned property and $25.60 per front foot for all other zones. The estimated cost to resurface all of the streets included in this year's resurfacing program is $1,530,000. Personnel from the Department of Public Works Engineering Division have field inspected the streets included in this hearing and have determined that resurfacing is warranted at this time. The streets being considered for tonight for asphalt resurfacing are Badger Lane, Badger Street to Christiana Street, Badger Street, Perkins Avenue to Reagan Street, Brozig Street, Manitowoc Road to Pecan Street, Doty Street, South Monroe Avenue to South Baird Street, North Chestnut Avenue, Elmore Street to Mather Street, Perkins Avenue, Shawano Avenue to 234 feet south of Badger Street, Redwood Drive, Hickory Hill Drive to 9th Street, Reserve Street, Badger Street to Cul-de-sac North, Stewart Street, South Monroe Avenue to South Jackson Street, and Stewart Street, South Van Buren Street to South Baird Street.
Okay, so open up the floor for interested parties by Worry, second by Nitting, under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
These motion carry. Okay, the floor is now open. Are we gonna go by the cards first?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay.
Start with the cards and then go over.
All right,
Lyndall Horsens, 1008 Stewart Street.
just come to the podium, please.
I don't have nothing to say at this time.
Oh, you don't?
Okay.
No.
Okay,
Thank you. Chad Brandner, 1333 Stewart Street.
Yeah, I have a few statements, I guess I would say. I think it's kind of bogus that I'm getting taxed for this road. I don't feel that it's necessarily my property. It's right by a school. Tons of people use this road. The road's not in the worst condition. There's other things in Green Bay that can be improved on, and maybe Green Bay shouldn't spend all of its money on other things and concentrate on improving access to my home, because I'm a taxpayer and a citizen of this great country of ours.
what street was that, Steve?
Stewart.
Stewart Street. Which one?
1300 block, that's gonna be between,
Van Buren and Barrett?
yeah.
Okay,
Between Irwin and Barrett.
okay, thank you.
John Griffin, 1257 Doty.
Yeah, you guys want me up there?
Yeah,
All right. I guess I got a couple issues with this. The first being, you guys haven't voted, or you have, but haven't passed the wheel tax. And I think that that's something that we can all agree that would benefit us all. So I, kind of on you guys, are you planning on waiting until after election to pass that? And if so, I think we should wait to do these repairs until we have those funds available, or at least know where it's coming from. It would suck to have to, okay, put this in the books, right? And then you're gonna do it in the summertime. By that time, the wheel tax is already passed, and we're all on the hook when the next project isn't. That seems to me like it's a little close to the cutoff point, a little unfair. Like appointing a Supreme Court justice a year before the next presidency. You know, you just kind of gotta wait a year before you do that, right? I'm kidding. But anyway, and the other problems I have with it, okay, let's say you have a corner lot, then you get double whacked if you do, Stewart Street and then per se Clay Street, and you're on the corner of Stewart and Clay. That doesn't seem fair. And then what happens, the individual here said, he's right next to school, but what happens if you have Walnut Street, Ashland Street, Webster? Webster looks terrible. I don't know why that's not on the list. Either one. I'm saying if it's a busy street, it seems like the only fair option is wheel tax versus just because you live on a busy street, you would get, more traffic winning the road. And I don't think what I'm saying is I don't think it's fair. I think we should wait until you guys vote on that wheel tax and get that hammered out. And if that's after the election, so be it. But then wait until after the election to do this.
you made a comment where if someone lives on a corner, is it fair? What about if someone lives on a very low traveled street? Is it fair for them to have a tax?
Well, okay, well then you go back to, does he own it for 30 years? Or does he own it for 3 years?
30 years?
Okay, well, let's say his neighbor owns it for 3 years.
I'm just saying, that's a question, yes or no, is
Yeah.
that fair?
I don't think that the whole idea is fair. I think the fairest way is a wheel tax. Anybody who
Is it
owns a
fair
car-
for someone to pay the wheel tax on a low traveled area? That
Oh,
probably wouldn't-
definitely, because he's
It is?
he's
Okay.
he's going to a grocery store, right? He's going to
Okay.
work. He's not just
But his
driving up
street
and down the
never,
street.
let's say his street never gets repaired. 'Cause
Sure.
It's very low, but he's still gotta pay the tax for other people.
Definitely, he's
Okay.
still traveling all over the city,
Okay.
right? I mean,
I don't know, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe he has a bicycle, I don't know. But I was just wondering. Yeah,
I don't know if you're aware of our policy regarding corner lots, but maybe I could ask Mr. Grenier to explain that. There's an adjustment on one of the streets,
Both,
on both of the streets.
Correct.
Okay.
there is what we refer to as our corner lot exemption. So if you have a property that is on a corner, there is a 100 front foot exemption that's applied to that property, and that's prorated out based on the amount of footage that's on each of the two streets. So let's say, for the sake of discussion, if you own 100 feet of frontage on each of the two streets, 50 feet on each street would be considered exempt from assessments for corner lots.
Thank you for that update, Steve.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Stephanie Calwertz, 1280 Stewart Street.
Sorry, the legs are kind of giving out.
That's okay.
Old age. Yes, I live at 1280 Stewart Street. I'm paying about $1,100 a year taxes. I live on Social Security. After the bills are paid, I'm living on less than $200 a month. $400, $500 to pay for this bill is ridiculous. We can't afford it. There's a lot of us here. Like this gentleman says back here, we're all on the same boat. Stewart doesn't need to be resurfaced. Why don't you go down Pit Hole Alley, it's called Roosevelt, from Main Street to East Mason. It's cost me 2 flat tires, the front end alignment, it is pitted so bad. I've seen kids on their bicycles fall because of the pitting in that road. Take that money that you've got in your budget and fix a road like that before you fix ours. If you have to fix ours, take it out of the tax money that we've already paid the city this year on our taxes, instead of charging us again. And yes, the wheel tax is very good for us, but the simple fact is, everybody puts the money in, you'll have more spending money in the end to fix roads that people can't afford. Or how about Mason Street going eastbound? That speed bump city there with the patching was done shitty. I'm a retired maintenance engineer. I know better than that how it was done. So go with the wheel tax, guys. Get a lot more money to work with. If you have to charge us on Stewart or Doty or Cherry, like that, we'll take it out of the, you got a copy of how much taxes we pay. Take it out of that money, what we've already paid. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What do you think, right?
Yes.
Okay, Gary Creasure, 1111 Doty.
My problem is, you guys are gonna wanna talk about resurfacing. When you resurfaced it 45 years ago, when you tore the asphalt off, you said, oh, too bad. Bad street, but we don't have any money, so we'll just lay the asphalt over, and when it comes time to do it next time, we'll reconstruct it. Well, it's next time 45 years later. It's an old concrete street. And you took core samples today, but if you didn't hit the joints, and all the joints are bad, I said, you're gonna patch it and it's gonna fall all apart again. You know, the curbs are almost 100 years old. The whole street is almost 100 years old that's underneath there. How many concrete streets do you have here in downtown that you replace after 50 years? I figure you should, if you aren't gonna do it right, you just leave it until it's completely things and you're ready to sit there and reconstruct it. Because I get tired of patching and trying to get the water to drain off of the thing because the curbs are all so bad. 100 feet, 200 feet from my drive, from the catch basin, which is 25 feet from my driveway, puddles are all over there, ice at the bottom. You can't get it off even if you keep it open because the things, and you're gonna take your thing and look, well, yeah, it looks fine with your things, but in between times it's like this, and every one of them catches. And when you lay asphalt right up to the curb, it doesn't stay, it pops out, and then you're back to the same thing you have. And I tell you, if you drain it off, you'll see most of the curbs are all pitted on the top, gone. And like I said, I'm not thrilled to pay $900 or whatever it is, but if you aren't gonna do it right, don't bother doing it. It's gonna cost me, I'm on a fixed income too, like all the rest of them, but I'm expecting it, and I'd like to see the wheel tax, that'd be a better way to go, but, you know, you guys keep putting it, they keep putting it off and arguing over it. I thought at first I was against it, but then I started figuring it out, what it would cost, and the maintenance of things, you'd come out ahead, because you're never gonna be around that long otherwise, but like I said, so when you take off the asphalt, you'll see what's underneath it, and then you may go, oh, too bad. And you didn't jack the curbs last time, and I said, mine is that much different than what it is, and it's been that way for 50, 60 years. And the water sits in front of my house, and my driveway's curved up and up things, and you go down the street, In the 1200 block, there's a big hump there. If you grind it off, and it's puddles on, they thought it was a water leak, just a frost bubble boiling up the street. And the reason I know what it is, you all know I ride my bike. I'm on a bike, so I can see. I work construction for 40 years, grading and everything else, doing street work. And I can see right down here, every little dip, every little thing, and every one of them is that if you dig it up, you find there a joint there. So if you are, and then the water is gonna put new main in there, so you're gonna cut them pads in half again. What are you gonna do? It's either dig it up and do it right, or just leave it alone. And like I said, I was on Roosevelt, and it's patches upon patches upon patches upon patches, all across the road. It isn't just a thing, it's the whole road for blocks. And people been grumbling about for years. Most of the side streets you're talking about, yeah, they're like this, but there's not a lot of potholes in them. Roosevelt is really bad, and I was just on it yesterday. And you put it in there, and the next day it's all popped out again, and they get bigger. And I mean, it isn't just one here, one here. That's how it's patched. Either get a crew in there and do it right, or something. And that's a minor arterial, which is more than a residential street. So why is it so bad?
What do you suggest with Doty Street, Gary?
Either tear it off and see and figure it's gonna be bad, or just leave it for a while until it's back to thing. It's just, you talk 20 years, well, it's been 45 years with the overlay. And it's still, like I said, and if you don't patch the joints and you overlay it, asphalt will break wherever them joints are, and we're back to where we're at again.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Mark DeGoe, 203 South Monroe.
Yeah, 203 South Monroe. I'm one of those lucky guys that has a corner lot. And I'd like to request that maybe because of that corner lot, I got hit for the first year, this last tax year on Monroe upgrade. And I have a special request that maybe you could add my Monroe, remaining Monroe assessment with the Doty and make it a 10-year. And if others want a 10-year, maybe you consider that. And the other point I want to make too is that I kind of smelled a rat when I saw across the street is the school. It's the school for gifted students. And I kind of smelled a rat when I saw that was re-asphalted. But they only did half of Doty. And they did the half on the school side. So I thought, okay, something's coming. I know something's coming. So I called and I asked the lady, are you going to do Doty on the other half? Or why didn't you do Doty on the other half, since the construction trucks beat the crap out of it when they redid the school? I thought, why didn't you just do the whole thing? She said, you're not even on the radar. And then here we go, a year later, boom, I get the letter. So I guess that's all I want to say, but I'd like the committee to consider a 10-year, adding my 2 up if they go through with this. And I second everything everybody said in here as well. Thank you.
We're with you.
Thank you.
Okay. I gave him a kid on Roosevelt because he fell. Scared the crap out of him.
Okay, Beth Hodgson, 1124 Redwood, asked for just to have a statement read in.
Go ahead.
And she states that I'm very concerned about this resurfacing project on Redwood Drive. My neighbors and I would rather a reconstruction. Our road is banked so bad that vehicles scrape each time we enter or exit our driveway. If the project goes forward, I want to be sure that this issue is addressed. I would like it guaranteed that the road is flattened and the curb mud jacked, especially in front of their family home. The address is always between one drain at the catwalk and one at the corner of Redwood and Hickory Hill, so it's the furthest from each sewer. Our apron is flooded much more than others on the street. This is dangerous for our family and anyone walking by. She gives a contact name and phone number. So she asked that that be read in. Then we have Alexander Mon, 1139 Redwood Drive.
So I also am supporting this wheel tax. I need this passed, because, I mean, we got our preliminary assessment, and, I mean, from the looks of it, this costs half as much as our property taxes. And they go up, and we see this assessment, and, you know, we might as well double our property taxes at this point. Redwood is awful. The roads are so bad, especially by Hickory Hill. And as I turn in, it's practically gravel at this point. And I think just simply resurfacing is not going to do the trick. I mean, as you get towards Hickory Hill, there is a deep pothole that I usually dodge around anytime I drive out of my neighborhood because it's that bad. I'm not gonna go and damage our cars up just simply to drive out of our street. The other thing is, same thing goes with the apron and the road being so banked. We have this huge puddle of water. Anytime it rains, in this case, being that it's winter, it is just this huge pool of frozen water. And I mean, I'm not going to run my garbage can out there and slip in my driveway or slip in the middle of the road just to bring my garbage out. And it's like this time and time again. Anytime there's going to be puddles of water, it's deep. And my neighbor across the street's going to say the same thing. Beth's comment as well, her statement is saying the same thing. It's like that all the way down the road, and it just needs to be a full reconstruction of Redwood, and hopefully funded by the wheel tax rather than this assessment, because I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, we're on a fairly large lot compared to some of our neighbors, so we definitely got hit, especially looking at the numbers and comparing even just to our neighbors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else, Steve?
Jim Geezy, 1721 Badger.
Yep. I know Badger Street is in pretty rough shape, so it does need to be resurfaced. I totally agree with it. But the wheel tax, I'm all for the wheel tax. But I want to know if the wheel tax goes through, will we be compensated for that? Or do we have to pay this year for the repair? We should be compensated for it because it's in the year.
I guess whatever comes through the council. Right now, it's in staff. It's with staff, so
I understand that.
Anything could
Is somebody
happen.
going to propose that if this, you're on it?
They
If
could.
if this goes through, will somebody propose that anybody that's getting their roads resurfaced,
They could.
that we get compensated for it?
They could. We haven't had the proposal in front of us, so I can't answer that question.
Okay,
But someone could. Talk to your alderman.
that's what I'm asking,
Yep, it could.
right there. So I'm asking you, will you propose that for us?
I've been on record that I don't support the wheel tax.
I know you don't.
But it hasn't been approved. It's in the talking stages at this point. It hasn't been approved yet. Some people support it and some people don't.
Well, why don't you support it, Don?
It's a new tax, it's another form of taxation.
Alderman Vanderleest, we're just taking testimony right now.
Yes.
It's a hearing.
I was just
so
gonna say that this is a,
I would imagine someone would, but I could be wrong,
okay,
because we don't have the proposal in front of us.
all
So,
right.
anything else, sir?
Yes, and then the vote that they took last year, what was it? Yay and nay for Badger Street.
What
What
vote
was
on
the
what?
result for it?
The vote on what on Badger Street?
They took a vote
The
and asked us if we
The
wanted,
the postcard surveys were eliminated from consideration, I believe, 2 years ago by the Improvement Service Committee, and that decision.
so
was
it didn't matter
confirmed.
when we sent that card in what our vote was.
Correct, the postcard surveys are no longer used. That was a directive given to staff by Common Council.
Okay. And then, we're on a bus route now too. So we will be compensated for that, correct? We're not gonna be paying that
imagine, Steve.
$17?
There
It
is
should
a,
already be.
there is a reduction in the assessment factor as a result of being
If it's
on
a
the
city bus route, not
It
a
is,
school bus
it
route.
is a city bus route. Okay,
10%.
they're paying $17 and we're paying $17. According to what the paper that you sent us, with all my
Okay,
lots.
we'll
It
go
will
back
have to be
and,
changed.
we'll go back and take a look at that and
Yeah.
verify. We depend on the information provided to us by Metro, so we will go back and verify with Metro to make sure that our maps are accurate at this time.
If
Because
that is
then,
correct, it'll be adjusted.
all right, because them buses pound the hell out of that road. They destroyed it.
Okay.
And then, well, I actually asked John on this here, for the people that own apartment buildings, we have a lot of apartment units down on the end of Badger Street. Now, they got 100 tenants traveling up and down that street. Do they pay, are they gonna pay more for, rather than $17, are they gonna pay $27 or something like that? Because of the amount of people that they have living there that are traveling that road versus I have 2 cars and everybody else is all just homes? Do they pay more taxes? Or not taxes, I mean, more on the road?
The assessment is based on the amount of frontage that they have.
Just on it, so they're just paying $17 a foot too, or whatever it's gonna be? Okay. Because I got an acre of land, and it's $3,500 it's gonna cost me. That's more than paying taxes.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it, thank
Okay.
you. 2,200 years.
Okay, the last one that we have submitted early is a statement from Steve Johnson representing his family's property at 2275 Main Street.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Thank you. Steve, you want to start over, please?
Okay, this is Steve Johnson representing a property on, at 2275 Main. It actually is assessed on Brozig. This is Johnson's Hill. I had a phone conversation with him last week and explained what was going on. He lives out of town, cannot attend the hearing tonight, so he said, thank you for reading our position into the record, and I look forward to hearing the results. As we discussed, my family is not in favor of the project on Brozig Street moving forward, maybe later, but not this year. That's the last of the comment cards that we've received prior to the meeting.
Okay. Anybody else from the committee?
I'd like to make one more comment, please.
Go ahead, sir.
I would like.
Name and address for the record, please.
Okay, it's Stephanie Kelowitz, 1280 Stewart Street. Come on, legs, don't feel. I'd like to ask the council one more thing. Would you please go through, when you do your evaluations of the streets, do it block by block, okay? And evaluate them that way, because Doty, Stewart, Irwin, Chicago, some of those blocks don't need to be reconditioned, but yet Roosevelt was left out. I damn near killed a kid because he fell over on that street. So have them reevaluate to make sure that it absolutely needs to be done. You get these streets that, like I said, Roosevelt are on that list, so we don't kill a child. And I'm sure everybody here on the east side who lives in that area will agree with me.
Okay.
Okay,
All
thank you
right.
for your time.
Thank you. All right, anything else, Steve? Nothing? Anybody from the audience? If not, entertain a motion to return to regular order of business.
So moved.
Motion by Wary, second by Nenning. Under discussion here, none, all in favor, nays, motion carried, we're in regular order of business. So do we take action on this, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. The recommendation from staff is,
To order asphalt resurfacing improvements and levy assessments on all streets included in the program.
okay. What about if one or two of the streets needed reconstruction, can we have that ordered in?
You can have them removed from the asphalt resurfacing program, and we will consider them for reconstruction in a future program year, but they wouldn't fit into.
For this year?
Correct. The design for a reconstruct is significantly different than for resurfacing. so they would have to get into the design queue.
Different program.
And
okay.
considering that we're already at the beginning of March almost,
Okay.
by the time we got design done, there's no way we could get them constructed this
Okay.
year. Just for the committee's consideration, Doty and Stewart did pop to the top of the list. And the streets, if you were to travel them today, I would agree that there's a lot of them that, a lot of sections along those streets that probably don't appear as bad, requiring resurfacing. The reason that these two streets are in the program, and I've got staff from Green Bay Water Utility here, these two streets, Brian, do you have an approximate number on the laterals?
Yeah, of how many are lead?
The leads, yeah.
Yeah, there's approximately 60 lead services on both streets, so 120 between Doty and Stewart.
Okay, so this is part of the lead service line replacement that water utility is doing. By the time they get in there and cut the street up to do the lead service line replacements, both streets are gonna look like a bomb went off. So what we've been talking to you folks for the last 2 years. As we've been developing our capital improvement program, we're trying to maximize the impact when we get in there. We're using both storm, sanitary, and now water utility data coupled with pavement condition, trying to get the best bang for the buck on streets. So that's why Doty, Stewart, and Chestnut, correct?
Yeah.
Were all selected to get the street redone rather than leaving a patchwork quilt out there when we're done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody have any concerns, questions? If not, any questions or concerns?
Yeah.
Alderman Worry.
I don't know if you want to open the floor again, but I think there's another comment, so I'll make a motion to open the floor.
Okay. Motion to open the floor.
Almost said
Second,
Alderman
Commissioner
Fisher.
Parties. All in favor?
I mean, for everybody here to.
Just one second, please.
Second.
One at a time. Just raise your hand. I will recognize you. Let's take it easy, people. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open. Just please raise your hand and I'll recognize you. Sir,
If we had
name and
100
address for the record, please.
1257 Doty. If we had 1,000 people here, would it have mattered what we said here, or do we all waste our time if we're gonna go through with the resurfacing anyway?
I'm not sure. We didn't vote on anything yet.
Oh, I thought that's what,
We took a recommendation. We haven't discussed it yet.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Anything
sir.
else, sir?
Well, one other comment I'd like to say, all these high rises that are going up downtown, not everybody works downtown. So once again, with the wheel tax, they're traveling around the city. They're still going to the grocery store or wherever. So everybody on Washington Street is not affected at all compared to everybody who lives outside of the, high rises downtown. So that's one other reason why I think the wheel tax is more fair.
Okay. Anything else? If not, Gary, and then the gentleman in the back.
Gary Christian, 1111 Doty. I see why this all of a sudden came up. The water department has been fixing on that road for years, fixing, patching water mains, which means once they dig it up, patch it, in the spring they gotta patch it and pour concrete in there and put their pavement on top of it, so now they wanna sit there and, here, we'll just dig into things, put gravel in, put asphalt on, and leave the city and the citizens to pay for the patches we'd have to do. This is what it turned into. Our street, like I said, isn't thing. Across the street, in front of your catch basin on Golden Street to Cave, the curves are caving in because they patched across the road. And that's the one I was talking about upstairs, where they did services to either side of the road. The curve is sunk like that from them. And they left it open part of the year till late, because they patched one side, they dug it all the way across, took out the concrete, patched their water, put the patch back in and had Mattel come in, dig it out, put a layer of concrete, then the asphalt on top, and then the other side they forgot about for a while until I told them to come back and fix it. And they've been doing that all along down the street every time they have a water leak, and they have to come in and do like you say, because underlay is concrete. So now they're sitting there having you do it, and us pay for it, and they can walk away from it, which isn't fair. So they've been patching the water line for years. And in fact, you left sidewalks and everything else from a gas company not done because you were gonna go do something with the street. So you let contractors get away from it, and then the taxpayers pay for it. Well, it should be the contractors doing it. And I don't think it's fair then, like I said, he said it wasn't until they were doing all these water services. Well, when are they gonna sit there and do the 100 block of South Irwin? Because they dug up a bunch of them concrete. They have to go in there and patch them. They did it down on Cherry Street. They dug out services, and then they patched it. So this way, they don't have to patch it. They leave, the citizens pay for the street and patch for it. It should be stuck with them because it's what they're doing, and they got money for it, so. And we paid them already for it. So I don't think it's fair that we were fixing the roads then, if it's because they're tearing it up more, and then we pay the difference.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. Gentleman in the back, name and address for the record, please.
Yep. Alex Mon, 1139 Redwood. Another thing I'd like to add to it, just like with the downtown traffic, during football season, especially when they start shutting down Oneida, 9th, and just that whole neighborhood by us and our street are taking a lot of overflow traffic when they shut things down, and a lot of traffic ends up running up Redwood Drive. It's only a 2-block long street, but people hop down 9th, run up Redwood or Marquette, and that's their exit right to Mason Street. So, I mean, I feel like thinking about the wheel tax and really pushing for that is gonna make sure that everyone's paying their fair share, because it's not just us homeowners that live on that street that are using it, it's everybody else that's running through our neighborhood. And I don't want it to be just a burden on us. I think it needs to be spread out to everyone who's driving through.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, I'm gonna close the floor. Motion to close the floor.
So moved.
By Worry, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make a motion to remove Redwood and look at it for future reconstruction. I know that street very well. And I think, as we were talking about with Jody, if you're going to fix it, let's fix it right, because I get a lot of complaints about water drainage over there. But I would like us to also look at Hickory Hill when we look at it, because Hickory Hill from Oneida up to like Marquette Park is probably worse, I think. So that's my motion.
Okay, motion on the, okay, say that again? Remove
Remove
Redwood Drive
consider for future
for
reconstruction.
future reconstruction. Motion by Worry, second by, I'll second it. Under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, Redwood is moved off the list, and it's gonna be to future reconstruction. Does anybody else have any other? Mr. Nenning?
I'd like to ask the staff for their opinion of the Doty Street issue with concrete underneath and, you know, and resurfacing over the top, and especially with it being torn up with the water thing. Do you feel resurfacing is the thing to do at this point?
I think resurfacing is gonna be a lot better than having patch after patch after patch after patch after patch.
What about reconstruction, Steve?
I think ultimately reconstruction.
Okay. Well, Dave, why don't you take it off the list and put it towards reconstruction?
Yeah, reconstruction wouldn't be this year. If
Oh,
No, it's
because
probably gonna
has
be
to
at
be
least, they're gonna be driving on a patchwork quilt for at least 5, probably closer to 10. That's the backlog that we have of reconstruction right now.
Well, I think that's, I think that makes a certain amount of sense, and, you know, I know a lot of people are concerned about wheel tax, and I knew it would reach this point. I can't tell you anybody that the wheel tax is going to pass. I just don't know at this point. There are pros and cons on the council. I've supported it for many of the reasons that people here said, but we can't guarantee that. I mean, it could, if we delay Doty and reconstruct it without a wheel tax, it's going to cost you more. And, I hope everybody understands that. Reconstruction is more expensive than resurfacing.
Okay, do you have a motion,
Okay.
Dave?
I'll make a motion to remove Doty at this time and consider it for reconstruction.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to remove Doty and send it over to reconstruction program, second by Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Any other motions or amendments, I guess? I got an amendment. Okay. I'm gonna make amendment to Brozig to take that off the asphalt resurfacing.
Second.
Motion by Nicholson, second by Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, motion carried. Any other amendments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to be adopt as amended, approve as amended, proceed forward as amended.
I would say order asphalt resurfacing improvements and levy assessments as, if you just say as amended, when we actually write the minutes, I will have only the streets that are still in.
What directors had that?
Second
Motion by Worry, second by Nenning. To have this, what streets are they?
So we would have
Can you read
to
them off,
order
please?
asphalt resurfacing improvements and levy assessments on North Chestnut, Elmore to Mather, Badger Street, Perkins to Reagan, Perkins Avenue, Shawano Avenue, 234 feet south of Badger Street, Badger Lane, Badger Street to Christiana Street, Reserve Street, Badger Street to Cul-de-sac North, Stewart Street, South Van Buren Street to South Baird Street, and Stewart Street, South Monroe Avenue to South Jackson Street.
Under discussion.
Yep.
Thank you,
Alderman
Mr.
Worry.
Chairman. I would just state, obviously, we haven't gotten the new proposal for the wheel tax yet, or whatever name it goes under now, but I would encourage anybody who's interested in that to come to the council meetings or come to the committee meeting, contact your alderperson, because that's going to be a spirited debate, and we have a lot of things to discuss, such as roads that go in this year, what do you do with? So there's a lot of questions that we haven't even broached yet. So just stay on top of that, and we'll get to it, so, thanks.
Yeah. If I could,
You
I
can.
just want to add that, I certainly understand the issues of fairness that, and I've heard that from some of my constituents as well, people that paid their special assessments in 2017. I paid mine in 2016 on my street, and people think that, well, you should somehow get credit for that. That's a real difficult thing to do. Part of the wheel tax proposal is to eliminate special assessments on residential property for reconstruction or resurfacing, but it's also to do more streets, to have a more aggressive program to do more streets. And you simply can't do everything. And I guess the short answer for someone that's paid their special assessments in recent years is that, well, if the wheel tax passes, the next time it comes around, you won't have to pay it. I know that doesn't satisfy everybody, but that's the best answer we could give at this point.
Okay.
Just got to be honest with you.
Any other concerns or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Just wanted to say thank you for coming and participating in our committee meeting. Thank you very much. Moving forward, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of February 14th, 2018. Motion approved by Worry, second by Nenning, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. Approval of the agenda by Worry, second by Nenning, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 3, consideration with possible action on request by David Vandelis to explore all options to avoid a wheel tax and for answers regarding resurfacing monies. Return to staff, February 14th, Improvement Service Committee. Okay. Director Grenier, you want to start? or-
Well,
Okay.
I think we can first hear from Mr. Vanderleest
Okay,
to see if he has
Dave, you're on stage here.
any other concerns, or then we can respond.
Hi. As I listen here, it appears to me we need a plan.
Excuse me, if conversations, please, in the hallway. Thank you. Go ahead, David Vanderleest.
Thank you. 146 Alpine Drive. As I listen to this discussion, it just becomes relevant that we need a long-term plan and we need to find a long-term revenue source. As I talk to citizens of the city, I think everyone seems to agree we need to come up with some revenue sources for roads. Everyone also seems to agree that wherever these revenue sources come from, they'd like to see a segregated fund be developed for it. So that any revenue sources developed from either a wheel tax or wherever we decide to find the funds go into a segregated fund that must be spent specifically on roads. Last meeting, I threw some numbers out there and we were gonna have those numbers checked. The first number, I said we had about 456 miles of road. Steve and I were talking before the meeting, it's actually about 456 miles of road. I had called some city staff before and I was told that there were roughly about 70 miles that were ranked as a 3 and 4. I remember Steve said that there might be some that are ranked even 1s and 2s. And we had agreed that we wanted to figure out how many miles of road we thought were in the city that needed to be reconstructed. So do we have that number then?
Okay, well, if reconstruct was our intent, then I misunderstood.
Resurface it.
Okay.
We'll go with what we have.
Well, that's.
Why don't we get in with what we have for the director, and then you can have some response with that.
Well, and that's okay. I want to make sure I'm getting you the correct information.
Sure.
The notes that I had
Right.
were resurfacing.
Sure.
So what we did was we took a look at streets which are listed as local streets and asphalt streets. So those would be eligible, potentially eligible for resurfacing. So of potential resurface eligible streets, so like an East Mason Street would not be eligible.
Sure.
Okay? There's a total of 1,598,185 lineal feet of street. So, go quick here. 598, 185. So streets that are eligible for resurfacing, there's about 302.6 miles. That's a total, and one individual during the public hearing suggested that we do take a look at streets on a block-by-block or segment basis. That's exactly how we do rate and take a look at the streets, okay? So there are 3,177 individual road segments that make up that 302 miles. Of the 3,177 potentially eligible streets for resurfacing, 413 of those segments are rated at a 3, so that's 13.2% of the number of segments. Then if we go back and take a look at the lineal footage, there is a total of 238,268.53 lineal feet that's rated 3. Again, at 5280, that's 45 miles.
Gotta leave the door open, please.
Yeah, sir.
It's a public meeting.
So
Thank you.
14.9% of the streets that are eligible for resurfacing are currently rated a 3. That's as of the 2017 rankings. There are a total of 7 segments rated a 2 or below that comprise 2,754 lineal feet, or roughly a half mile. Many of the streets that are rated 3 are not eligible for resurfacing due to issues such as no drainage, they're currently paved in the gutter, or lack of available cross-section. Just taking a look at paved in the gutter streets, of the 418 segments rated 3, 125 of those are paved into the gutter. That's about 58,000 of the 238,000 lineal feet of streets. So there's quite a bit of those 3 rated streets that are paved in the gutter. And there are streets like, I'm sure there's a lot of streets out there, like Redwood, okay, that folks are going to tell you that they think it should actually be reconstructed as opposed to resurfaced. So that 3 is a little misleading. That is the first cut line that we use for resurfacing, but you actually have to get out and take a look street by street to determine what's the appropriate need.
Steve, what was the percentage for the 2s or less? You
The
gave a number,
2s, it's only, okay, 7 out of 3,177,
so,
which is 0.2%. And then from a lineal footage basis, it's 2,753.92 lineal feet out of 1,598,184.93. So on a lineal footage basis, it's 0.2% as well. Now with that, some of the other information that Mr. Vanderleest,
Please, yeah.
Can I try to surmise what I think you were asking me for? Will that work for you?
Yeah, that's.
Okay, perfect. Let's
We,
do
yeah, we
that.
just,
Just move on, Steve.
So what we did was we went back and took a look at the last 20 years of resurfacing programs. So that takes us back to 1998. Over the last 20 years, we have averaged 20 street projects on the resurfacing program for a total program, an average program year of about 18,500 lineal feet. Back in 1998, the cost of the asphalt alone, so when we do the resurfacing program, there's the asphalt resurfacing, there's pavement repairs to curb and gutter and things of that nature, and then any mud jacking of curb and gutter. We don't have complete data on all of those programs because some of that stuff wasn't tracked independently prior to 2001. But if we take a look at just the resurfacing, the asphalt cost itself, okay, so that would be asphalt and some limited base repair. Back in 1998, we spent $305,700 on the program. That came out to $23.86 per foot. That program has run for anywhere from that low of $305. In 2008, we spent a total of $1.3 million. But it has consistently run in about the $700,000 to $800,000 range. And I've got the summary sheet here if you'd like to see that. Last year, 2017, our most recent program, we spent about $788,000 on the asphalt. That came out to $49.56 per foot. If we go back and take a look at the 2386 number in 1998 and take a look at the Engineering News record for an escalation factor and apply the E&R numbers between 1998 and 2007, that $23.86 in 1998 comes out to $43.05 in 2017 dollars. So there's pretty decent agreement between the 4305 and the 4956. However, we've had years like 2013 where due to the amount of work that we did, that was a $1.1 million year. That came out to $70.45 per foot on the project. Those costs per foot, and that's why I said last time, I'm very hesitant to put out an average cost per foot. It's very dependent on the streets that we do. If there are streets that have cement stabilized base, if we happen to get into a group of streets that has curb repair that's necessary, things of that nature, those costs tend to wildly move around on a cost per lineal foot basis, which is why I really don't like those rules of thumb. We tend to look more at overall program. And then when we bring forward the proposed assessment rates on an annual basis, that's why we give you the historic trends as well. So based upon what we heard at the last meeting, and I was working off of the meetings, those were the questions that I understood from Mr. Vanderleest, so we tried to provide those answers for you tonight.
Thanks, Steve.
okay.
Mr. Vanderleest.
Yeah, I just taking all these numbers and making some correlations, and I'm just figuring out that whatever plan we're talking about, we seem to be under budget or under budgeted. If Steve's numbers said we had 302 miles of road that could be resurfaced, is that correct? Out of our 470, did I catch that right? Or
That are
456?
that are eligible for the resurfacing program,
So,
not that are in need of resurfacing.
yeah, so I guess, do we know what we're in need of?
Again, when we take a look at the resurfacing, the first cut that we use is those streets rated 3,
Yep,
and that's the 238,000 lineal feet, so that, what did I say that was? Well, it was 15% of the streets, but 238, 268
well, here's the whole point of why I asked to be on
is
the.
about 45 miles of that right now is rated 3.
Okay. So here's where we're at and why I asked to be on the agenda and bring this up. I'm just gonna try to sum this up quickly for you guys. Basically, the way I look at this, the project you had brought up that you're having done that you were discussing earlier, that seemed to be somewhere between $17 and $25 a square foot, or $17 to $25 a square foot. Projects you were just talking about.
That was the
before.
assessment rates.
Yeah. So what, do we know what the cost per?
We don't because we haven't bid the projects yet.
Do we have any estimates on what we think those might be, or
Nothing here tonight, no.
nothing here tonight? Okay. Well, the way
I would, if I had to guess, I would expect that's gonna be closer to the numbers that we had over the last 2 years. 16 was about $66 a foot,
Sure.
and 2017 was $49.50 a foot.
Okay. So basically, what we're doing then, when I add these numbers up, if they were per foot, we're looking at, for a simple, just a resurface, we're looking at somewhere around 90,000 bucks a mile, roughly, just for a resurface. And if we're gonna do the major reconstruction that, you know, some people had talked about earlier, where we're gonna knock the roads up and redo everything, then we're probably looking somewhere closer to, you know, probably about 6 times that, probably somewhere around $700,000 a year. Or $700,000 a mile, I would, roughly, if we're gonna completely redo the whole road. So when you look at that, and you look at the numbers of streets that we need to fix in this town, and our deferred maintenance from what we've done, when we look back at it, there was a time in this city where we fixed 4% of the roads a year. And in order to do that, you know, that's somewhere probably around, depending, half of them being a reconstruction and half of them being completely redone, you know, we're looking somewhere around $6 to $8 million a year that we need to be budgeting. And if we're budgeting less than that, every year, depending on what we do with wheel tax, we're gonna see our roads continually get worse and worse. We're not going to be fixing them at the rate that they're wearing out. So, if the wheel tax is gonna be your way to go, your magic bullet, then let's be realistic about it. If we wanna make our roads better for the people and not worse, then you guys are talking probably about an $80 a vehicle wheel tax. Or else we need to start taking money directly out of our general revenues as a city, and we need to put a certain percentage of our general revenues into a segregated fund for Steve and the roads, that goes into a segregated fund from our general, you know, our general revenues that we're allowed to do. But, you know, to say that everyone think that was here tonight, they're all commenting that, oh, we're gonna have this wheel tax and no one's gonna have to pay anything. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, your $2 million wheel tax, we're gonna have worse roads the first year we have it. We're gonna have, every year, we're gonna lose about $6 million. And then, like we said, the water gets under it. If we don't, you know, like Gary had said, you know, then we're gonna end up with all major reconstruction if we just keep putting these Band-Aids on it. So we need to step back as a city and say, hey, I don't know when we got away from getting 4% of our roads budgeted for every year, but we need to somehow find a way to get back to that. You guys as a committee, I don't envy you at all, because now we have such a large amount of deferred maintenance from not doing it that way, that we have to fix this big problem we have now and then try to get back onto a system that accomplishes that. But a $20 wheel tax, if we think that's gonna just be a magic bullet and everybody's happy, maybe people won't get assessments, but every year our roads will get worse, and those are just the hard numbers of construction and what we've heard tonight that needs to be fixed, and at the rate of return. So, and the rate that roads wear out. And if I'm wrong, Steve, please tell me I'm wrong. I mean, I put this on the agenda so we can all learn, and we actually, for once, realize what the heck we're up against and what we need to fix so we have the roads that we want. Because, you know, when we look at it, when they incorporated this big city and they're gonna have a city and make a community here, you know, we looked at it and first you need water, then you need roads, then you need fire and police, you know? We're failing at one of the top 4 things that we created a city for. We're putting the money in other places, because the fact is, we take in $107 million a year in revenue. You know, we were gonna build a ballpark, that was gonna be $10 million bucks. You know, if you wanna look at that, guys, that's 16 miles of complete road reconstruction, rip her out and start from the ground. So, as a city, maybe we have to start looking at where we're prioritizing and just getting back to the nuts and bolts of what it takes to run a city, and relook at things and say, hey, what are we doing with our money? Why aren't we doing the thing that we were elected to do, the things that the citizens first and foremost want us to do? And we all know that roads is one of the top 4 on the list for probably every citizen in town. So we need to just come up with a plan that properly funds it. Your wheel tax can fund 25% of what needs to be done at $20. I mean, those are my numbers that I've come up with. And if I'm wrong, I challenge everyone. Figure out where I'm wrong, prove me wrong, because you know what, then we're all gonna learn something. I'm gonna learn something. If you prove my numbers wrong, we're all gonna learn something in the process. But we have about an $8 million a year problem that we're putting Band-Aids on. And the wheel tax is gonna be a Band-Aid. And proceeding with that, we're gonna have a new tax, and people pay, all these people we're talking about, all the amount of money they pay for property taxes. We're putting it everywhere but into our core services. And it's a crying shame when our roads, we've seen in the last 15 years, we've seen our roads deteriorate. We've seen our garbage service get deteriorated. We've seen the 5th man and the fire truck get deteriorated. The things that we put the city together to do for us, we're not doing anymore. And it's got to stop with the roads. It just has to stop here with the roads. And please, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong, and thank you for catching a detail I missed, or, you know, on the numbers, but that's where I truly think we're at when you look at the budgets. And I put this online with a link to the budget, and well, then the website link went down to the budget. But, you know, people were giving ideas of where they thought the money could come from. You know, we're spending the money in this town. We just need to prioritize it back to the roads. You guys have any questions? That's all I really have. And the whole reason I brought this up was just to figure out the numbers and figure out how much this wheel tax under budgeted you guys from the thought that it was just gonna be the magic bullet that fixes everything. It's gonna put us worse. The road condition's gonna get worse with it.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Pardon? Okay, motion to go back to regular order of business.
Second.
Okay, second by Nenning, all in favor? Ayes, motion carried. Hey, comments, concerns? Dave, you got something?
Wheel tax issue is going to be coming back, so, you know, I think these are things that are helpful to know, and, you know, at this point, I guess we receive and place on file the information that was provided in the comments, and you know, consider it all in the context of the whole when we talk about the wheel tax again.
Okay. Motion to receive and place on file, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion? Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
Chris?
Chairman. I do appreciate, Dave, you bringing this forward, because it doesn't make
Thanks, Dave.
big picture on it, especially when you start throwing 68 million on there. I would point out that if there was a wheel tax and it was 2 million, the city still does borrow its portion. So you'd still have another 1 to 2 million with that. It wouldn't all be just the wheel tax, so you'd be looking at 3 or 4 million a year. I know that's not 6 to 8 million, but
I heard it was gonna be 2575 the last time it went through.
well, and those are things, yeah, it all depends
Who knows?
how we hammer it out, yeah. Right now it's 50/50, right? I mean,
What's that?
One thing I would ask,
Just 1 second, Dave.
okay,
What do you mean 50/50?
current road assessment, how much to each side and how much the city?
Oh, that's a hard thing to.
For
again,
residential.
It varies.
Yeah, residential street, Redwood, whatever.
Dave, don't forget your phone, please.
I'm just, if I
wanted to add
could,
one more thing, but
is
one
it
second,
half
Dave.
city, 1/4 one side, 1/4 the other side? Is that-
I don't, again, I don't know if there is a percentage that we can put out there. I know numbers that have been reported back to me have indicated about 1/3 of it is assessments.
Okay, so
So I don't know how accurate those numbers are.
That's all I needed was
On
rough.
the average.
Yeah, so about 1/3, then the residents split, 2/3 the city pays for it.
Any other,
That's what I've heard people say, so.
any other concerns?
I just had one other thing I'd like to add, Andy, if I could.
Okay.
The one thing that, when I look at this, what I'm most concerned about, wheel tax, raise taxes, whatever, we all realize we're gonna need revenue and we got a big road problem. Can you please figure out a segregated fund for these roads?
That's, I told you it was proposed,
It has been proposed in the,
wheel tax
okay.
with Barb Dorf.
And then I would, and any other road funds to go into it, so that,
Right.
that's where we're at. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. I have to, excuse me.
Number 4, consideration with possible action on request by the Barton Corporation of Wisconsin to dedicate to the city of Green Bay the infrastructure improvements in Sand Ridge Park South Division. Director.
Magnus has been sitting with us patiently. He's representing the Barton Corporation tonight. Sandridge Park is a subdivision on the far west side between West Point Road and Ferndale Drive. The committee and council approved a developer's agreement to develop that subdivision. All work, construction of the infrastructure has taken place last summer and on into the fall. DPW has completed our inspection of the work. We do recommend approval and accept dedication of all infrastructure improvements.
Move to approve.
Motion by Alderman Ennig, second by Alderman Vanderleest. Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
So
I think I'm the only fan of the city in this room, actually.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
You don't have to go, though. You can stay. We've got a lot left.
I feel like I'm the only one who likes the city, but
Apparently.
So then, at the next council meeting, this should be one of the resolutions that
Okay.
you see as a resolution accepting dedication of improvements.
So,
I
a
can be at that
recommendation.
meeting as well. The council meeting, I can be there.
It's
as well.
next Tuesday. I wouldn't think you'd have to be there, but if you want to.
No, but I can be there.
Oh, sure.
yeah, okay.
Come on down, you bet. 7 o'clock next week, room next door.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, number 5 is consideration with possible action on the report of the purchasing manager to request approval to purchase a truck-mounted folding crane from Truck Equipment for $11,732.
I move to approve award to the low bid.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Vanderleest to approve the low bid
Truck equipment.
to Truck Equipment for $11,732. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, consideration with possible action on the review and award of the contract Parks Project 218, Colburn Park pool renovation. We had a pretty lengthy discussion at Parks, so I don't know if we need to rehash it here or not. We sent it to council without a recommendation, so that council could,
Okay, so,
the
I think
council will
we
have to
could-
decide next week.
yeah, well, we do have some time, and so if Parks sent it with recommendation, would you like to hold action at committee level as far as award of the contract, or do you just want to do the same?
The council's just going to deal with it one way or the other, and I was ready to make a motion to award it to a low bid.
Second.
I know it'll conflict with the recommendation you made earlier.
Discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion carried. But, we'll go to council next week, and I'm sure we'll have a interesting discussion. Number 7, consideration with possible action on agreement for purchase and sale of real estate at 1003 Smith Street for the North Webster Avenue reconstruction project and authorized payments.
Okay, the agreement for purchase and sale of real estate is the first, this is actually the first one. We're actually making an offer to purchase. We've been doing the offering price reports and such. So this is the first actual purchase agreement. Once the agreement is approved by the council, we can set a closing date. We anticipate that demolition of the home will not take place until we have multiple homes, so we can maximize, cut down on the costs. Of course, depending on any special circumstances, if there is something unique about the home that we do need to get on the ground quicker. We can't do that.
Any of these being relocated, any of them worth staying in, or are they all kind of,
Not that we're
they need
aware
too
of
much
at this
work?
time.
Not at this point. So DPW does recommend the approval of this 1003 Smith. We are talking about $112,000 to purchase that house.
Questions, motion?
Move to approve the recommendation for 1003 Smith.
Right, motion by Alderman Nennig, for second. Second by Alderman Vanderleest. Discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 8, consideration with possible action on offering price reports for the North Webster Avenue reconstruction project and authorized payments.
Again, all of these offering price reports, you've seen a lot of these in the past. Most of the ones we have tonight are not the full parcel acquisitions. These are temporary, limited easements, and some with very small fee takes. So those are typically where you see on 48 and 49, the fee portion of that. Generally speaking, those are small fee acquisitions at corners for sight distance and things of that nature, offsets off sidewalk, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's why you also see the offering price report dollar values being so small. When it's a temporary limited easement, we get to occupy the land, do whatever we need to do. Usually it's grading, and then we restore the lake to better condition, and there's just a nuisance payment that's paid to the property owner for that. So again, with these TLEs and small fee takes, these are necessary to complete the project, so staff does recommend approval of the offering price reports.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Vanderleest, second by Alderman Nennig to approve. Under discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 9, consideration with possible action on applications for concrete sidewalk builders licenses by the following: Baton Concrete LLC, JD Concrete Corporation, Frank Ozize Construction Company, Inc.
All have held licenses in the past, we do recommend
Move
approval.
to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Alderman Nennig, second by Alderman Vanderleest. Under discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, consideration with possible action on application for tree and brush trimmer licenses by Timber Edge Tree.
Again, Timber Edge Tree has held one in the past, we recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Vanderleest, second by Alderman Nennig to approve. Discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 11, consideration with possible action on request by Department of Public Works to award Bridge 118, Atkinson Drive over Railroad rehabilitation at staff level, subject to the following conditions. A, project is included in the 2018 capital improvement program. B, delay in bringing forward a recommendation to award at the next regularly scheduled committee meeting would result in an unacceptable delay in starting construction. C, the project so awarded would be reported out at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Improvement and Service Committee.
So this is similar to when we get into summer schedule. This is the bridge that goes over the CN Railroad. The project includes milling and overlaying of the bridge deck over the CN Railroad yard. There are sections of the bridge deck that will require either full or partial depth repair. Along with the deck work, the parapets and medians will be repaired. The project is in this 2018 CIP. The problem we have is with the award of the contract, it falls in between our meeting schedule and one of the things that we have to worry about is swallows nesting under the bridge. There's actually DOT requirements that you have to net the bridge and avoid nesting swallows and that kind of stuff. We're gonna miss that swallow window based on how I wish I was kidding. I really do. You can't make this stuff up. So again, similar to what we do in the summertime, this would create a nuisance condition. It would very likely drive the bid cost way up by missing that window. So all we're asking is authorization from the committee to award that contract again, providing that it comes in the way that we expect it to.
Move to approve the request.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Nennig, second by Alderman Vanderleest. Discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Director's report.
Just a couple of things for you tonight. First and foremost, March 12th through 16th is Bulk and Overflow Week. We've got that out on social media. It was included in the service guide that was tied to the handle of everybody's carts back in January, so always a big week for us.
Keep putting those updates on social media, because then can borrow them and share them. I don't know if you do
Oh,
that.
good.
Share 'em,
That's
share 'em.
good. I
No,
appreciate
those
the
are awesome.
feedback.
No.
Good.
Because not everybody might go to your website, but they'll see
Sure.
mine or yours or.
Right. No, that's
Any
great to
updates,
know.
any and all.
Over 2 weeks ago, I told you folks that we were looking at 6 weeks of slot to finish off the season, and it's here. But I've been very proud of how Operations Division has handled snow and ice. We've not fallen behind on sanitation. The sewer crew has been out there making sure that curb lines are opened up, and we get those inlets open as fast as we can. And I have been very impressed with how the roads have been. We have had a couple of major ice events, and within hours, we are back open for business. So I've been very happy with how staff has been addressing that on all fronts. And keeping the city open for business. Like I said, even sanitation still all getting their rounds done, and we're not getting trucks stuck, and it's really been nice. I don't know if, we had so many people, it was kind of contentious tonight, so I kind of let things go. But if you noticed, Kristen Romanowitz was actually sitting in the back as a member of the water utility staff, and up here at the table, at the staff table, Matt Wysek. Matt is a staff engineer in project development section. Matt has accepted the appointment as the assistant city engineer, so Matt's going to step up and fulfill that role. So we are actively looking for, when Personnel Committee and County Council approved filling the ACE position, that also included any vacancies from subsequent internal transfers. So now we are actively looking for a staff engineer to slide into Matt's spot, and we're working through that transition right now. So I wanted to keep you guys apprised that we do now have an assistant city engineer, so we're looking for a staff engineer.
You know, I even saw a police officer sitting on Taylor Street where the drain, in other words, a sewer drain.
Oh,
Saw a
okay.
police officer clearing the water so that it could go down, because there was a lot of water in the street. So, hey,
Glad to have
you're even-
everybody pitching
You're even
in.
getting help from the police.
Good, I like that. I'll take help
I
wherever
should
I
have got
get
his
it.
badge number. I should have got his badge number.
Anything else, Steve?
That's it.
Any
To
questions?
receive and place and file the director's report.
To receive and place on file, Alderman Ennig, second by Alderman Vanderleest, under discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Alderman Ennig, second by Alderman Vanderleest, discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, we're adjourned.
Quite a night.
I gotta show you what my,
Pretty sure I stopped.